Three female entrepreneurs turned besties share on life, business, and the journey through the mess. Join their community with every new episode for connection, education, a few laughs, and the hype energy like a bathroom full of drunk girls at a bar. It's okay.
We're your friends now!
Hey guys, it's Ashleigh.
Hey, it's Katie.
Hey everybody, it's Biz.
It's Ghost of Biz's voice, actually.
Yeah. I apologize in advance to Katie for all of the that she's gonna have to hopefully get out of this. I have completely lost my voice because if you heard last week's episode, we talked about how Mardi Gras was gonna happen between now and then, and I am not sick. Woo!
Yay!
I am only hoarse because I lived my best life with with like the most incredible people around in like the past, 5 days. Have just been an absolute marathon. And it's actual Mardi Gras today. And I didn't think we were going to be able to record, or I was going to be able to record. But they had to cancel it. They pushed everything up. They haven't canceled it since the 70s. But it is very windy outside right now. And I can see it. Like, I totally believe them. Like, it was the right call. Like, this would have been a disaster if there were things flying off floats, especially at small children.
So there's nothing happening today?
No. So they did this. They made the call late, like yesterday, to start Zulu at 7 a.m. And then Rex rolled at 9 or 9:30 right behind it. And so now like it's 11 and it's like crazy windy and everything is over. Like, yeah. So, I mean, of course, like people are still partying and whatever,
Well, yeah.
right? But like there's no parades, there's no nothing. And, honestly, all of us are so exhausted by today that it's really like a blessing in disguise. Sunday is the big family day. Go from sun up to sundown. I mean, it's wild. But yeah, and that's when I lost my voice, was Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I didn't cool stuff. I caught some awesome stuff and I can't wait. I'm gonna mail you guys some. Y'all watch out.
Oh,
I know.
I didn't realize that they had moved today's stuff. That's crazy. Like, it's Fat Tuesday. It doesn't seem right to not have the normal, but I'm glad they still did something like this morning. That's good.
Yeah, well, and it was crazy because last weekend, like for mini Mardi Gras, they didn't do the parades on Sunday because of the weather, and so we ended up having like a private Mardi Gras like Tuesday, like they did them like this Tuesday night. They rolled, and so it's been a really, and the weather was just beautiful this weekend. I mean, absolutely incredible. But yeah, so it's been great. And then I had time with my college roommate, whom I haven't seen in a long time. And it's just, yeah, it was good. My love tank overflows. Y'all's weekend. What did you guys do? Anything fun?
We had Connor's birthday party.
Oh, super fun.
Yeah, we had to reschedule. So we had his birthday party this weekend. It's the first time we've ever had a birthday party for him. So, and it was chaos in the best way. It was so loud and so crazy, and all of the kids just had the best time, and it ended up working out like really well. There was, I was super bummed because I wanted to do like one of the trampoline parks or something where they had an activity, because we had kind of a spread of ages, and they all book out like super far in advance here. And so we ended up we didn't do that. We had it at Brett's Lodge, and it was perfect because there was so much room for the kids to play, and the parents could be in the same room and see them, but not need to like hover over them. Everybody was always within eye shot of each other. And, we kind of like true to ourselves did something super laid back and just filled the day with like Connor's favorite stuff. So we had like his favorite food. And since we weren't paying $1,000 for a child's birthday party, we like put a bunch of stuff into the goodie bags that are like some of Connor's favorite toys. And we let the kids have them at the beginning. And then Connor did really well with like sharing his gifts that he opened. And so like between the goodie bag stuff and the presents that he opened that they all wanted to play with, they just had the best time. And as it always seems to go, I think with kids, like no matter what you plan, they always will choose the most off the wall thing to play with. The like number one, well, there were two things that were the clear crowd favorites. I would say probably three. Hungry Hippos, was not expecting that. Ribbon wands, like those little
Yeah.
Classic.
whatever. Keepy Uppy was like hands down, far and away the most, and it was like it was
Wait,
one
what is that? I don't know what that is.
the balloon where you like don't let the balloon touch the ground.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In Bluey, they call it Keepy Uppy. And it like when we picked up the party decorations, I didn't want a bunch of balloons or anything. Connor really loves them. And so when we were at the register getting the party decorations, he kept grabbing some and he wanted to buy them. He kept putting them up on the counter. And so I grabbed a couple that had 4s on them for his age. And I was like, whatever, I'll just get them and like we'll blow them up on his birthday or something, like, and I totally forgot they made it into the bag of party decorations that we took to set up. And Brett was like, should I just blow these up? I told him no, because I was like, I don't want to deal with all the kids popping them. And he blew them up anyway. And then it was the favorite. And we got them at Party City, which is going out of business. So it was like 5 cents.
Oh,
It was everybody's favorite thing.
You say that, and now that reminds me, like we did Liv's birthday party here. We did a movie theater, and I was so mad at Jonathan because he literally blew up balloons in this historic theater full of first graders that like suddenly went feral, and I was terrified. And like but that was the first time Liv came up and thanked me all on her own.
Aww.
Like all on her own accord. And I like realized like that was one of those moments of like stop and look around you, like dummy. Like it's not all about control. Like,
Yeah.
Kind of things, which is so funny because you guys like how everybody talks about my exuberance for life or whatever, but like really like inside a lot of times it's like
I also will say I thought this was funny because it was a mixture of Connor's favorite things, but also very clear that Brett and I were the parents, that we had a temporary tattoo station set up, but they're all dinosaur tattoos. And so I am covered in dino tats.
So which one are you going to get permanent?
I might get a pterodactyl because I actually have a toothless tattoo like planned for How to Train Your Dragon, but he likes his little pterodactyl one. Connor is covered in temporary tattoos. So anyways, Ashleigh, what'd you do?
So we took the kids to Topgolf. I don't know if you guys have Topgolf near you or the last
I love Topgolf.
But yeah.
Wasn't it with y'all? And whenever I swung it so hard I fell? And there's a video of it.
Yeah. And you remember when I decked Mike in the head with a golf club?
Yes! That was the same night. Yes.
I still cringe at that. I'm so sorry, Mike. I did not see you there.
Evidence of my falling. Somebody's got
that was a time. This was a very different trip to Topgolf.
Okay, yeah. Also, sorry, Mike, if you're listening.
It's super cute to go with the kids because they, it's just one of those times like we had fall spring. So like the sun is out, it's 65 degrees. And you're like, if I don't go outside and get some sunshine, I'm going to kill someone.
Yeah.
So we got to go. And so we did like 2 hours at Topgolf. The kids actually had fun. So Shane is really good at golf and he is who has been teaching me, but he's just a really like natural teacher, like really easygoing, doesn't give you too many tips, like where it starts to feel critical. And it was so sweet. He gave Ezra tons of tips. And by the end, Ezra was just whacking the balls, hardly ever missing. Cassie was doing better. Nobody was upset.
Oh my gosh. Really sweet.
Even the kids were telling each other like, good job when the other one was taking a turn. So it was really, really cute and fun and great. And then on Sunday, Cassie and I went to see Mean Girls musical.
Did you love it?
Oh,
I hate to say that I didn't. I enjoyed it.
So it's so different.
It's very different. I think it's
Okay,
hard
I
being
haven't seen
the
musical.
age that we are, where like we were around when the first Mean Girls came out.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
And then they did the movie musical, and
Yeah.
they kept a lot of, obviously, right? They kept a lot of those same jokes in there to keep it true to the old movie. So then by the time I'm watching the musical, like all that's really left are the exact line for line jokes that are
Oh.
almost worn out for me by now.
And the
And
delivery is going to be different because it either feels like the person's trying too hard to recreate it, or they're giving their own spin and it doesn't land.
Yep.
Yeah, that's tough.
It was tough. And yeah, so it's probably the first musical I've really walked out of feeling all that critical of it. And
Yeah.
I am so sorry. This is like the most hair classist thing of me. The Regina George in our musical was not blonde.
She has to be blonde.
That's what I said. I said they couldn't even slap a wig on her.
Right.
She was.
It was a touring group,
What's that?
or was it like a local group?
I
or
don't
was
know. I don't think it was a local group. I'm pretty sure it's it was
Wow.
our like Broadway. So I'm pretty
Wow.
sure it's the touring group. And like they were all great singers, and you know,
But yeah,
we're all great. But yeah, it was like Regina George comes out and she's wearing skinny white jeans and has dark brown hair. And I'm just like, huh? It threw me off so bad. So
Yeah, I would have trouble with that. Did Cassie enjoy it?
she did. She felt the same as me. She was pretty critical of a lot of it, which was honestly kind of fun to like. We got in the car after and we're just kind of ripping it to pieces. So it was still a great time, and I'm still glad we went. And it was a nice and short musical. Like the last one we saw was Wicked, which I love, but
yeah,
my hips hurt from sitting in those chairs for that long. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, so it was a great time.
Good.
Love that. Well, I love that we all are talking about things we did with our kids this weekend, because like it was something, oh my gosh, at one point I heard Liv squeal in joy.
Aww.
And like she's 9, y'all. And so like squealing does not happen very much these days anymore. And it was like almost like a moment of like, oh, like is she hurt? Like kind of thing. But then I looked back and they were like playing ball, and it was literally like the joyful like squealing. And I was like, man, I wonder if this is the last time I'm ever going to hear that.
Oh.
Because like I know we've been doing all these light episodes, but like I promise, like I really want to talk to you guys about this. But like I was sitting there and I was just like really enjoying it. It was just like absolutely stunning. The weather was perfect. I mean, the sun was setting, the kids were playing ball, and I mean it was just beautiful. Mardi Gras floats passing by, and you know, like Liv's getting on Jonathan's shoulders constantly, but I'm kind of watching him struggle, and I'm like, man, this might be the last year that she even wants to get on your shoulders, you know, because she's playing ball, like, you know, here it is, sands of the hourglass right in front of me. And like I had like a moment of like really kind of like proud of myself in a way, because like that's what I really wanted for her when we moved to New Orleans, was to like have that core, like those core memories in her bones. And like, but like in that like same moment, I was like, gosh, like I want to capture this for her. Like, I like want to protect this. Like, I want to protect this with like everything in me. Right. And, then like I look around and I was just like full of gratitude for like our crew of friends, you know, that are all fostering this community that in pouring into my daughter, and Jonathan throwing their kids around. And, you know, it's just so cool. And it made me like think of like how I don't know a lot of their moms, because like I bounce around so much, right? And it's so hard for even us to get on to like schedule to have these conversations, you know what I mean? But then how y'all are my mom friends, and you know, we talk about a lot like our personal journeys, and overcoming limiting beliefs, and I just kind of want to like have a conversation like and like talk about that, because there's certain things like in particular, Katie, like there's been multiple times where you almost get ferocious about you almost get ferocious about protecting who you even allow to speak to Connor.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like that, so that stands out in my mind. And you know, Ashleigh, again, because your daughter is older, you know, like older than Liv, like going ahead of me with that. So yeah, but like I just kind of starting with us, because like I mean, like I said, we've talked about this in like snippets, but never as like an actual direct conversation. So like starting with us, when I was like journaling through this, and I was kind of thinking, like, everybody always says like, oh, well, the world's pressures, like the world is going to do that to you. And yeah, like, what do you think about that? Like, Ashleigh in particular, I'm curious to what you think about that part of it.
Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting because when you look at the age range of our kids, so I know Liv and Ezra are, 9, but then Cassie is turning 14 this month.
Oh my
God. So it's a whole different world over in the teen years. And then Katie just had Connor's 4th birthday, right? So it's all the stages right now pretty much that you can have, except for like nobody's got a newborn.
Praise God.
And I so relate to that feeling of being in a moment that you just know is so pure. And even if they don't remember the specifics of that day, they'll remember the feeling of it. And it like you said, that core memory just becomes like a building block to who they are as a person. And it's so hard to look at that. And like, on the one hand, you want to savor that moment and just relish what you have right there. On the other hand, you want to capture it somehow, like video or whatever, but you don't want to step out of the present moment. And then the last piece of it is that you're like, how can I make their entire lives like this and never let it be anything else? And as they gain further and further independence from you, because they have to, as they start getting older, they have to navigate the friendships by themselves. They have to navigate their own emotional well-being themselves. They have to navigate their thoughts on their own. They have to learn how to navigate the internet without you, y'all.
No.
Just to prepare you. That's going to happen.
I have not even thought of that. Ashleigh.
Can we cancel? I just found out that my 18-year-old niece has an Instagram, and I like didn't sleep. I didn't sleep that
You're
night.
like, what are you doing there? Absolutely not. It's awful. It's hard, man. It is so hard. And I've had little moments of where like I'm watching the two of them giggle and like it's just so pure. And then I'm weeping because I'm like, this might be the last time that my house is filled with that sound. And like how tragic, not just for me and myself, but how tragic that that's the human experience. Yeah. And so there's this whole evolution you have to go through as a parent as they start getting older. You have to become a parent who can let them navigate on their own and not be the parent that's trying to give them answers, that's always trying to lecture them, right? Like they come into the car after school and they're like, so this, and this happened. And you want to jump into problem solving mode. And it's like, you got to learn how to take that step back and let the bad thing happen to them and say, how did that make you feel? Or I'm sorry you experienced that. What are you going to do about it? What do you think about doing this? Like you become a coach over like their teacher, which is the role you are when they're younger, right? You're teaching them how to eat, how to lace their shoes, how to get dressed for the weather. Like it's a different role. And it's important because it's the step in between them relying on you 100% and them being independent adults. So it sucks. It's my response. It blows. I hate it. I loathe this part of parenting and starting to step back and let go of that control, because the most important gift we can actually give them is the confidence to handle problems and to experience and sit in discomfort without crumbling.
Yeah. That's a lot, Ashleigh. I'm so glad that's recorded. Thank you. You're the best. The world, that's like really what I'm trying to talk about a specific piece of it though, like the joy, like exuberance, like unapologetic, like being yourself piece of it. So like then when there's like this pressure that comes in to like conform, right?
Yeah.
And then like everybody kind of becomes like zombies in the conforming, yet now we as a universe, or like we as friends and our friend group, like celebrate uniqueness, right? And like we've come to understand that like real growth comes from self-leadership, which is really what you were just talking about, is like self-leadership. So like 100%, yes, like that's what we are navigating through. But I'm talking about like that joyful, that, because like I definitely got it again, and then like had to like go away and like find it like maybe like, so like with my journey it was like this bit. So like when I was journaling through it, the world was actually like individual experiences for me that I could almost like pinpoint. And that I find myself wanting to like overcorrect sometimes and like protecting Liv from. And it's like a spillover from my experience. But then it's like things like I never even considered, like you just talking about the internet, for example, right? That like I know the world is a different place. And so it's just really cool. It's just all the different ways to like to actually that. So do you understand what I'm saying though? It's that specific topic that I'm trying to hone in on.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's hard because teenagers, especially as they get older, right? They become, and I actually was just talking to Cassie about this. They intentionally, their brains become super self-centered. I mean, it just is. They're so worried about what other people think about them once they get around to that 8th grade level. And like some of it is, not being confident enough in their own uniqueness. Some of it is that desire to conform. Some of it could be bullying, depending on what kind of school they go to. And honestly, no school is like completely immune from it, because kids just don't always realize how things come off when they say things.
Yeah.
And
I
so
think
it's hard because you want to overcorrect and like, try and fix all the things that you experience that you don't want them to experience, so that they can hold on to their joy and have a faster path to like where you are now, right? You're like, if you could be where I am now when you're 20, we'd be great. Right?
Yeah.
And that's hard because it's just, who knows what other journeys they'll go through.
I think there's probably some neuroscience to this, and I need to maybe put a pin in it to bring it up with Nora whenever we actually talk to her. But she was, or maybe it was my therapist, somebody was just talking to me about it, where like kids when they're babies, or like even like Connor's age and Liv's age and Ezra's age, like are absorbing, like they're sponges, like they're making all of these. And then when they hit puberty, it's like this massive shedding of information. And it's like this massive, like, don't need that, don't need this, don't need that. And it's like, and you can't control it. And so like having grace of like going through that. So maybe like some of it is more of a necessary evil. And that's all you can hope for, is that you just soften it.
Have you read The Defining Decade?
No.
Okay, so what?
Is that, am I in it?
So it's about the decade of your 20s is really what the focus is. But it does talk about the phases of life and how your brain works and reacts during different points of it. And so it's similar to what you just said, and like the absorption, how much you can shape your life. It talks about the significant pivotal moments in your life when your brain and your body are set up to learn, absorb, obtain information, and really take it in. And then the process of like throughout that, then it's kind of almost like scrutiny and judgment of them understanding their independence and which parts of that information they want, how it's relatable to them, what they want to retain. And some of that is done through deciding, and some of it is done through experience. And, then how you can apply that to like critical thinking and making better choices instead of living every experience to find the wrong answers and the right ones. So like I recently read it, and obviously for me, who's like pushing late 30s, was not quite the same impact, but a lot of the reasons I was reading it is because we work with a lot of people who are younger, and my niece is about to be 20. And so, I was like, okay, maybe these are things that we can be sure to be talking with her about. But it might be worth a read, Biz, because it kind of talks about those phases, and you could have a good idea of like what you're walking into.
Thank you. Yeah, I will.
That's a much more helpful recommendation than what I had.
I also
have you seen Inside Out and Inside Out 2?
Oh, yeah, we should watch that again. Well, no, and that's the thing. Like, there's no problem, right? Like, it's more of like just a general.
It's
like
the general, the experience of it.
Yeah, because like for us, like I'm really big. Like I remember, like I don't know, like I'm really big on that, like letting her play. Like, and that's what I really love about this New Orleans community is like it's like zone defense parenting. And like as much as people who are not from here can hate on Mardi Gras, it is the most family oriented thing ever. And so like, but she has opportunity to do that a lot. And so like that's something for me, but that's because like Jonathan and I got into I forget what it's called, but it was like basically like coddling. Like it was just this helicoptering and like how like kids don't get to self police and regulate. And so we had a hard time with that in Texas, honestly, with where we were.
Because it's like the culture there.
Yeah. And so like that was kind of part of the motivation when we were moving and looking too. So but yeah, I do want to read that book because I do, like we're all human, right? Like we all go through these things and like helping identify like what's quote unquote normal.
Yeah, it might validate your experience as a 20-year-old too.
Yeah, right. Well, and I can tell you, like, obviously I'm way on the other end of the spectrum here with one child and he's 4. So like, right. Experience is not the same, but my perspective of it is kind of like, I dance this delicate line, I feel, of like, I view Connor's childhood of like, I'm introducing him to the world, but I'm setting the standard, right? And so Biz, you said I'm ferociously protective of like who gets to be around him because I'm setting the standard of his expectations of what love is, what healthy relationships are, how people should be able to communicate with him so that it's just not like, at some point he does have to go into the general public at all times. And I don't want him to think that however anybody treats him is just correct. Right. I want him to recognize like, ooh, I don't like that. That's not good. And it's hard because sometimes there is that balance of like being overprotective and protecting his environment. But like, it's such a limited amount of time in their little lives that we really get to like control the environment to a certain extent. And my thought process here is like, if we can set that standard and help him understand what it is while still teaching him how to like safely self-regulate and make his own decisions and make his own mistakes, right? And learn consequences and things like that in a very safe and loving environment, then that's okay. And that there will be times where like that standard isn't met. And I just think about like the grace that we have to give ourselves because we're learning how to be parent. Like you learn on the job. Like there's just no, right. We all are learning as we do it. But then I think too about like, I can look back at my childhood and growing up and identify a lot of things that probably caused harm that I've had to like do some healing over, that I've had to learn from. And like, obviously, I don't have a relationship with my parents yet now, but when I think about like my childhood, I was happy and I had so much joy and all of that, like glee that you talk about, Biz, like I still experience that really, really frequently because I was looking for it on my own and that was like in me. And so I think about like, there's a lot of grace there that like, a lot of us have things looking back on our childhood that like we try and learn from and not parent the same way. And yet like most of these things, as we learn through them, it is going to be okay. Not saying I want to like give Connor the same that I had, but like, it's okay. They're probably doing better than we think.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I agree with that. Sorry, I just realized how this happens because I just sit here and listen. I just soak it all up, soak up all of that wisdom that you guys are saying. Yeah, it's really cool. I think that that's where I really am just becoming more mindful of that. I think in this season of my life, like I just am appreciating that and that quality in people that are around me more. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So protecting that space, letting it happen. God help Liv because I am like so literal. And like, does that make sense? Did you understand why I did that? But yeah. Oh, crap. Any advice for me, Ashleigh? I'm taking Liv on our first little solo trip.
Oh, how fun.
This week. Yeah, we're going to New York City, Katie. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You guys are going to have the best time.
Yeah, but I'm really excited to take and travel with her, just the two of us, and get that like real good time in, y'all. Like, oh my gosh, I just started getting real excited because it's only 2 days away.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, as much as you can, put your out of office up.
Yeah, no, I am. I've been planning it for a long time, and that's why I work so much today and tomorrow. So yeah. Anyway, yes. All the things. And Liv will know that because I explained it to her yesterday that's why I wasn't on the route with everybody else until right when the parades were coming. But yeah, it's, Ashleigh, did you ever explain those things? Did you? Or you just let it happen? See, because like,
I think I probably explained in the opposite direction more where like, and I think you do this too, where it's kind of like, hey, mom's on work mode until 4 or whatever, and then I will be available. Like, that's probably the direction I've explained it more so than like, hey, I'm sorry I can't be here for XYZ, but that's because I'm working so that I can be there for ABC. I don't think I've ever explained it that direction. I don't know if there's a particular reason why or why not. I just haven't.
Yeah, I just started doing it. I'm just starting it. So like that's why I'm curious. Yeah.
My mom used to do it a lot of like when we would go do something fun, she would have to like we would have to stop for a while so she could make some work calls, but it was always like we have to take a break. Mommy has to make these calls, but because she's making these calls, we get to afford to do these things, or like we can do this because I do this work. And so then like, she let me see what she was doing and made sure I understand the correlation between the two things of like, I can't be there for this, or we're going to have to pause on this, but it's so that we can do like the fun thing.
Would you chalk that up as a thing that you would you chalk that up on the positive?
For fair question. For the most part, it was a good thing. Then I would say she probably got like my work focus got swung too far that way of like she got very like weirdly obsessed with with it. So like I was very like I didn't care that much about school because I enjoyed work more, and I was like, well, I can work and make money, which I guess is not like a terrible thing, but even in college I was like, well, I have a good job and I have a future at that job and I like it more than going to school, so like I'm just gonna work. But I think overall, yeah, it was very good. And I think especially like I didn't recognize this then, but like seeing a woman contribute to the finances was also probably like pretty powerful for me, but I definitely really, really understood for sure of like, and it gave me a lot of like, I was never mad when she had to work or when she had to stop doing things. Like I never felt neglected. I felt like she was doing it so that we could go have fun.
Yeah, I love what you just said. So my best friend, Beth, my college roommate, she is a nurse practitioner, a psychiatric nurse practitioner now. And she also went to law school for like a year and a half or something like that in there. She couldn't figure out what the heck she wanted to do. We graduated our undergrads in 2009. Okay. It was May 2009. And so there was a lot of people in my graduation year that didn't know what they wanted to do. And it's like fascinating now, like, because we've known each other almost 20 years and have been and are established in our career paths, right? And like she does not have kids and is a successful woman, independent, and it was really cool to like have her there as an example with Liv, because it was like, okay, like Aunt Beth like stockpiled all of this experience in school and whatnot, and now has like this career path. And like, whereas like mama just went and got her bachelor's and then like went hard left and started an entrepreneur thing to like be able to understand those differences. But like, she's 9 and I don't want to like rush her through her childhood. And at the same time, Katie, kind of what you're talking about with your mom, like, I mean, it's like classic workaholism, right? For whatever reason, like workaholism is a trauma response that people do, and it impacts everybody around them. As a recovering workaholic, I feel like that I have to be mindful of myself to not teeter too far in the other direction of like over explaining it to Liv, so it becomes like a burden, kind of thing. And like, so yeah, so I mean, I definitely am trying to go, you know, like whatever, with a strike, like roll right down the alley, but you know, so
there might be some running into bumpers along the way.
Yeah, probably. I think we all hit quite a few of them, right?
Where it stems from me is like the fear of like, oh shit, what do I do? That like I had happen once whenever like I first graduated college in May of 2009. And then second, when my dad died. And just like having that like safety net rug pulled from underneath me. And like, that's the big thing that I feel like I'm trying to offset. But it's so hard because like, you know, like my parents always told me like they did the best they could, right? Which is the American dream. Like, you know, go to college, go to school, like get a degree and then blah. But then it's like, I don't want an MRS degree. I don't want all of this kind of thing. Like, wait a second. And, you know, so like, I don't want to steer her. And at the same time, like want to show her like anything is possible.
I think the best thing you can do is like show options. And Brett and I have this conversation a lot of like, everybody wants to tell their kid that anything is possible. But one day your kid is going to like wake up and look at you and go, well, then why didn't you do it? Like you can be anything. Okay, well, then why didn't you? And so it's like, you have to show them that there are options. Your path of success is not the only one. So like calling out other people who have success, showing her other people who are successful in their own way. But then I think the balance comes into play of like, sometimes there are decisions like we have to work and miss out on fun things. And sometimes we get to take time off of work and do those fun things. But when it's that work is always a burden or work is always seen as a negative thing, instead of like, I get to do this and I get to do it as a job. I get to be paid for this. And this is why I love it. And it finances our lives. Then I think that that's a healthier option. And it helps her look at like, what do I love to do? How can I help people? And how can it fund the life that I want to live? That's different than like, okay, well, I don't have to go to college and get this job, and this job to make X amount of money. And it feels like she's selling her soul. I think that's where people go south, is they feel like they have to cross off a checklist and they aren't passionate about anything they do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like for me, the way I've kind of decided to lean into things is letting go of that sense of control and that sense of like, I need to guide them, and realize they're going to guide me on how to support them through their journey. It's their lives and their journey. And, you know, I don't I don't really approach it from like, you can do anything, because I also feel like that creates this weird like dynamic that so many of us went through, where it was like, what do I do? Do I become a president? Do I become a CEO?
Yeah.
Like, I have to do something crazy and remarkable because I am capable of it. And it's like, or you can just work in a happy little desk job that makes the money that you need to make, that funds the things that you want to do, and you can have the family that makes you happy. And like, that's just as successful. But that doesn't seem to fall under the umbrella of you can do anything to me. At least it doesn't, even though it should, it just doesn't always impact that way. So for me, it's more of like, I try to live my life very purposefully, with them seeing the imperfections of it and the failures of it, and me being able to say, yeah, that was a whoopsies on my part, and it was okay, and I can own up, and I can say, you know, like, Biz, you mentioned like your parents are in the camp of like, we did our best. And I think so many millennials relate to our parents telling us that, like, we did the best we could, almost as if it's our fault that like things didn't turn out the way they intended. So for me, the shift is like, yeah, I am doing the best that I can, because anything else would be insane to do. Like, oh yeah, I intentionally don't do as much as I could as a mom.
Right.
But it's living in that they can see in a day, like, that I've, you know, it's bedtime and I've run out of energy, and like, I'm getting a little snippy, and it's me saying, hey, I'm real tired. I'm getting snippy, and that's not fair to you. So I need to go put myself to bed. We can't do a book today. We'll do one tomorrow. So it's like trying to be very intentional about like just owning up to not always doing well. Like, I guess I don't know how to say it. Does that,
what you just made me think of, Ashleigh, is like, there's such a difference between this attitude, and I'm trying to find a better word in my head for it than attitude, because it was such a heavy feeling of like my parents saying, you know, we did the best we could, or we do the best we can. And it seems like the unfinished sentence is, well, I'm doing the best I can, but we're just never going to be at like some other level or whatever. And so this focus on gratitude that I feel like so much of us have it's like one of those quiet, small things that will change generations in the future. Of like, you know, my parents were they almost hated anybody who they knew who had like vacation homes or more money or whatever. It's like this bitterness of like, well, we work really hard and we make all these sacrifices and we don't have that. And instead it's like celebrating the things that we get to do in life, whether it's sitting down for a meal together, getting to go to Mardi Gras celebrations, having a birthday party. And I think that that's how you teach your kid that, like, it's not, to your point, it's not that you can do whatever you want. It's that you can build whatever life you want, no matter like what like, there may be circumstances in the way, but like letting them see you work through the struggles and the challenges and still being grateful for the life around them gives them a clear-cut idea of like, nobody's path is perfect and sparkly all the time and like easy. And yet when you make decisions on what you want and you put in the work to get there and you remain grateful for what you have in the meantime, you're teaching them what actually matters, and they can make a better decision of like what they want and what success is to them, you know?
Yeah.
Because like, can you imagine looking at any of us who have like we have the families we have the talents and the skills, the friends that we have the opportunities that we have. Can you imagine looking at any of us and being like, yeah, but you aren't president, so like like, you're not successful. But like 10-year-old me would have believed, like, I wanted to be an Olympian soccer player, and I wanted to be the first female president. And like, because of the way that things were framed to me, anything less than that, I am like a failure.
Yeah, I agree. That's how I was like, if I'm not breaking a glass ceiling, I failed myself. I failed my parents. I failed humanity. I failed all women everywhere.
I am the patriarchy at that point.
Yeah. Somehow at 10 years old, I'm like, this is all on me.
It's very heavy.
There's a lot of weight to carry around.
Well, okay, so hang on, before we get too crazy, one thing I was saying, I know my mom did the best she could. I have
Sure.
never had the conversation with her that she has said those words to me, which is like really interesting to listen. And I don't know that you guys have either. But the other thing that you were talking about there and like breaking glass ceilings and like being present and all that stuff, like I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you. I'm like, man, like, what did I want to be? And like there were interests of mine that I segued through. So like there was definitely a season where like I thought I was going to be on Broadway one day,
Oh, same.
but it was really because like that was what was in my worldview at the time of like the most like adventurous, belonging, like all of these things that like these core values of mine of there, that was that. And like the season, like I literally sent an email this morning to one my financial advisors. They're like, yo, like we need to actually have a plan. Like I need to sit down and talk to them about all these crazy dreams I have, because like I know that I can do all of them. And I feel like I'm really at that season because I'm not 40, right? Like where you're like over the hill in that, but like I'm really in that season where I need to get down and like buckle up and get serious about what is really important to me in the planning piece of it. And so it's so cool because like I don't think there's ever like, yes, there's not a time where I'm like, oh, I'm so sad that I didn't do this. But it's also like I can't think of something big that like I didn't get. And I don't know if that, and like I'm sitting here like that's what I'm struggling with. I'm like, is that because like how can I say that? Like how can that be? Like when I'm sitting here listening to this, and then it's like, okay, how do I, because that surely cannot be the case, right? Like surely cannot be the case. But that's truly like I'm having a hard time like relating in that exact thing. So it's like, how do I duplicate that space to like give that to my kid is almost
Can I take a stab at this for you?
Yeah.
Because watching your growth especially like over the past year, I don't know that you had a career identified as something that like this is the landmark, the benchmark, the checkbox that like that's what I want to do. But Biz, this is one of your core values, and it's also something I've watched you grow a lot in, is that I think that your big dream was just to be loved and feel like you belonged and wanted. And you're feeling, really?
Yeah, no, I mean that's it. I don't really care what I'm doing as long as I'm making enough money and I'm making
Now you don't, but Biz, you have had imposter syndrome so much, and you worked through it and you waddled through it, and like it seems like that's maybe higher on your list of things that you would want to do than like a career title.
I guess I never, it's always been that though since I jumped into the out of corporate world. Like ever since I jumped out of corporate America and into like straight commission, it was always like me against me and like knowing. But no, I think you're right though, Katie. Like, yeah. I'll thank you for that spark. I'll choose you that. And thank you for the compliment. I received that as, so yeah.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
That was definitely a compliment.
Yeah. Thank you. But you know what I'm saying? Cause I don't think of that. Like, I don't think of like failures. Like I think of, if anything, and when I think of them, I think of it like, okay, my life would have been dramatically different had I made this decision instead of that one. But and sometimes like I'll, like you could daydream about it or whatever, and all those things, but that's all that it is. And I recognize that. And I just like kind of let it go. So like it's just, but it's so interesting.
Yeah, I think there's regret, and then there's like melancholy.
Yeah.
And like to me, regret would be a sign that like there's something amiss, maybe, or I need therapy, or like there's some work to be done. Melancholy is like just the reminiscent. Like I can look back at baby pictures and videos and be like, I miss those days, but I'm not having another baby because it's like, no, I don't actually. You know?
That's
I mean,
maybe it's the beginning of a midlife crisis that I'm going through right now. Like before it even like it's like I see it coming and I don't want to even regret.
I'm just gonna say, like, legit biz, are you like following anyone or paying attention to anybody that talks about perimenopause?
No, is this like hormonal?
You should be.
Yeah.
Is this hormonal of me? Oh my God.
You
I
should
don't know
follow
if it's
people on it.
hormonal or like I mean, I personally still think every time I sing in public that I'm gonna magically be discovered and be like a pop star. So like it's either hormonal, it's either hormonal or delusional, but like either way, I think you're fine.
Yeah, like but I just think in general, any woman, like as soon as she probably crosses 30, she should just start following and learning about perimenopause and menopause, because it is fascinating. It has been underwhelmingly studied, and they're just now starting to get like good information out there about it. So
okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. Well, next time in 3 weeks, guys, we're going to be talking about perimenopause.
Wait, can I tell you though? And okay, I was trying to find this email, and I can't, and there's no way I'll find it that quickly. But I got this email at the beginning of the year. Oh, here it is. I found it. Look, okay. I sent this to Ashleigh because I got, a bunch of agents send out like reflections and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I opened up this email and it says reflecting on 2024. And it says, Happy New Year. 2024 started as a challenge coming off my most difficult year in real estate. My dog had crossed the Rainbow Bridge and navigating what felt like a midlife crisis. Turns out it was perimenopause. With a hormone replacement therapy, everything changed the year and took off from there. And then it went on to talk about the rest of her life. And I was like, my first reaction was, wow, that's like not what I expected to read when I opened this. And then I immediately was like, you know what? Hell yeah, we need to be talking about that. Like, good on you for putting that out there and having a bunch of people being like, maybe I'm not having a crisis. Maybe this is actually my hormones going, nope.
Yeah.
I loved it. Anyways.
Send that to me, please. Okay, thanks.
I will.
Well, thanks, you guys. I love y'all. Yeah, I feel so much more whole and normal and grounded, which is what always happens when we talk. Why it's important. Check in with your friends, guys.
Yeah, like a big group hug from afar.
Yeah, except they're gonna get to see you in like a month, less than.
That's exciting.
I know, just for like a few hours though, but it's gonna be great.
It will be
touch her. I'm gonna pet her the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, well, I hope you guys have a great week.
Yeah. Thanks. This was a great topic.
This was good.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.